Hello, my educator family. Welcome to Strategy Sunday, right here with Carla Boswell-Lewis on Strategic Educational Consultancy Services. We are in the month of Organized October, and so we do know that classroom management has always been a struggle for every educator, whether we are experienced or we are novice. It's always a challenge. And so as a result, we are focusing on online classroom management, because if it was a struggle in the physical space, can you imagine how is it that we work out the virtual space? And so on Strategy Sunday, we have with us Mrs. Rochelle Harris Burrell, who will be sharing with us how can we manage our online classroom. And she'll be sharing insightful tips with us that we can apply to our classroom setting, we can adopt and we can utilize so that we are better able to maneuver the teaching learning process in the virtual space. Let's have her.
Hi educators, I'm grateful to be given the opportunity to share with you some tips on managing the online classroom space. It is important to note that there is no one size fits all, and so you really have to explore and find what works for you and your students. Classroom management is not a new topic. Nonetheless, we still struggle to get it right, especially more now during remote learning. To really manage a classroom of approximately 30 to 40 students, there are a few things to consider. Number one, you really have to be able to manage yourself as an individual. Many times we have to deal with trauma and unfavorable events in the past, which affects us psychologically, and this is reflected in our behavior. Get to know who you are and what you value, because you cannot properly guide 30 to 40 students without having clarity. Number two, organization of your time and space, both physical and mental. It's essential because you are able to be focused and operate from a realistic perspective, as you would be engaging in setting smart goals and objectives. Let's look at it this way. If we set unrealistic goals for ourselves and have unrealistic expectations, chances are we will do the same for our students, which leads to frustration and unearthing of undesirable behaviors. Number three, effective communication. This helps with classroom management, whether online or face-to-face, because none of us are mind readers, which means students cannot assume our expectations or what we value and vice versa. Therefore, communicating your values and expectations and allowing for your students to do the same will help to set the tone of the classroom, and that you will have clear operational standards based on mutual respect. In demonstrating effective communication, it also speaks to you being a good listener, a good active listener, which means you listen to comprehend and not simply respond. And comprehending means that your responses would be more targeted and specific and not simply detached from the conversation. Number four, demonstrating emotional intelligence and empathy. These are extremely critical, because acknowledging that your students are people first, that they're human beings, will create an atmosphere of love and positive energy, which every human being deserves. Once you acknowledge that they're people first, then your students, your acknowledge that your students are people first, your actions will communicate to them that you care. Number five, being consistent is key. This allows for some level of normalcy and reduction of frustration. No one really likes unexpected tests or assessments or anything that may add stress for that matter. Definitely, your students will not appreciate the same. So without consistency, there will be frustration and very little productivity and progress. Number six, get to know your students for who they are. What are their interests? What are their strengths and weaknesses, etc. This will allow for you to plan more effectively, and that will save time. It's not practical to plan for an audience when you have no clue about them. So quite similar to business when they do market study and have a clear sense of their target audience and what they need, it's the same thing in the classroom. Having a clear sense of your students' needs will help you to design more targeted lessons with deliberate assessment pieces specifically tailored to their needs, yet still meeting the objectives of the syllabus or the curriculum. What are the things that I do? I create a Google form each academic year to get to know my students and their expectations. I discussed with them classroom operational standards before I start teaching. I talk to them about their learning styles, what works best for them. We pray before each class, we play music. Students are also provided with breaks in between long class sessions. We encourage each other in class. We try to maintain a positive energy, a positive classroom climate. And I try my best to prepare assessment and content that will be uploaded in advance. So it means that weekly and termly schedules are created with due dates and assessments. These are also communicated to the students and parents. So I also set up consultation slots to meet with both parents and students, collaborate with my colleagues for best practices, and also just to share ideas and resources for better student outcome. Maintaining respect and being consistent with classroom standards. Create Google Form to get students' feedback. So I constantly evaluate my practice as an educator to make sure I'm engaging my students and simply using their environments and experiences as much as possible to teach them, simply getting them involved in the learning process as best as possible. These tips are not exhausted. These are some of the things that I do that helps with classroom management. But of course, there are other tools and techniques that exist. Hence, there's no one size fits all. So get to know your students, what they value, explore, and just be consistent in what you choose to do. It may not be easy, but certainly not impossible. Thanks again for listening. Have a great rest of the academic term. Take care.
Educators, that was succinct and very powerful. How do we go about 5 simple steps? How do we go about managing our online classroom as we do the teaching and learning process? And these are tips that we can utilize in our classroom to not only benefit us, but also to benefit our students. Remember, as we empower you, we expect that you are going likewise to empower the students. And I just want to say congratulations to all the hard-working educators. Congratulations on the CSEC and the K-passes. We know that it was not easy in the virtual space, and so kudos. And remember that we not only measure success by the passes, the ones, the twos, and the threes, but if it is that we were able to take a child from not being able to understand concepts to getting a range 4, that is a plus, because when this child would have moved on to do this subject over, if they wish, they should be able to matriculate and to get a higher score. So congratulations, hardworking educators. And once again, as we empower you, you go likewise and do online lesson planning, online classroom management. All these are very relevant and important to us as we have the conversation, as we are now into the second year of the pandemic in schools. Take care, use these tips wisely so that it can benefit you.